We chose the anti-hero books for our trilogy project. An anti-hero is a flawed hero, which is much more interesting most of the time than a traditional hero because a person can relate more to the anti-hero because they tend to have social flaws or human frailties like um, us in society. And a lot of the time, suffering is a part of this process, which we can relate to because all of us go through that at one point in our lives. A character that we could all relate to that is an anti-hero is Sherlock Holmes. He helps the police catch criminals, but is extremely arrogant and rude most of the time. So, yep, enjoy. The Catcher in the Rye is set around the 1950s and is narrated by a man named Holden Caulfield. He never discusses his location throughout the course of the novel, but it is made clear that he is undergoing treatment in a mental hospital or sanatorium. At the beginning of the novel, Holden is kicked out of his fourth school in Hagerstown, Pennsylvania, and runs away from home. Throughout the novel, Holden finds fault with others and therefore isolates himself, and his inability to fit into society is shown. Holden only connects with children younger than himself, those who have not been scarred or corrupted by the heartless world around them. He sees everyone who commits even an insignificant act as being phony and believes he's a moral, quote, superior. He believes that women want a man who asserts power and control, so he discovers a prostitute, which is shown in the upcoming trailer. He also meets with a girl that he has dated before named Sally to ask if she will run away with him. Holden is an individual who wants to remain a child, but is in a world that is ultimately corrupt and adult-like.
Don't tell anybody anything. If you do, you start missing everybody. One of the biggest reasons I'm leaving Elkton Hills is because I'm surrounded by phonies. I can't tell my parents that I got kicked out of school, so I decided to ride my bike to the city.
How you doing?
Hi. So, what do you want to do?
Don't you want to just talk for a while?
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know, I just thought we could talk. That's the thing about girls. Every time they do something pretty, even if they're not much to look at, or even if they're sort of stupid, you fall in love with them. Girls, they can drive you crazy. They really can. Hey, I love you. Want to run away together?
Yeah, no. Alright, go. Anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids and nobody's around. Nobody big, I mean, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to catch everyone if they start falling over the cliff. I mean, if they're running and they don't look where they're going, I have to come out somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day. I'll just be the catcher in the rye and all. I know it's crazy, but that's the only thing I'd really like to
The
be.
novel
I
One
know
Flew
it's
Over the
crazy.
Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey is told from the perspective of Chief Bromden. He observes everything that goes on in the Oregon Psychiatric Hospital. It is never confirmed what psychological disorder he has, but one can assume he has schizophrenia due to his hallucinations of fog. Chief is perceived to be deaf and has never said a word since being there, so the administration says everything with no censor. Because of this, he knows of all the illegal action going on. Reynold McMurphy becomes a patient and changes the whole dynamic of the hospital. The big nurse is a character that exercises complete control over the whole hospital, and McMurphy is the first person to give her any opposition. The idea of women as castrators is a common theme throughout the novel and brought up by McMurphy as a matter of castration at the hands of Nurse Ratched. It is evident that McMurphy is different from the other patients because he is not afraid to laugh and make light of situations. This shows that he is genuine. Keep this in mind for the upcoming psych evaluation with him. Woo! One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was written in 1959 amidst the civil rights movement. During this time, psychology and psychiatry were undergoing changes, including the controversial movement towards deinstitutionalization. This is the process of replacing long-stay psychiatric hospitals with less isolated community health services. Kesey had some background information on the topic of his novel because he spent time working in a mental health facility. He was able to uncover first-hand information on the horrors that may lie behind each psychological institution.
Coming up, we have an interview with Nick Murphy from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's the anti-hero because he comes into the psych ward and he causes some mischief, but in the end, it's for the benefit of everyone because he teaches everyone else to have fun and live life and not worry about the rules.
Come on in, McMurphy. How have you been feeling?
I can't complain, just standing.
Nice. Well, all right. You know the procedure. I'll ask you questions, and you don't hold anything back.
Okay.
McMurphy, can you tell me about yourself?
Well, as you can tell from my devilish good looks, I'm good with the ladies. Grew up in a small town, not far from this, here mental asylum. I just finished my 6-month sentence at a working farm and wanted to change the scenery.
Can you give a brief summary of your time at the Oregon Psychiatric Hospital while you were there?
I came in and couldn't believe how all the other patients let the big nurse walk all over them. I made a bet that I could frazzle her within a week. Raised hell throughout my entire time there.
Interesting. How do you think the other patients reacted to your behavior?
I think me being there was a good thing. Gave the others more confidence in themselves to stand up for what they want and not be cowards. None of them even thought about leaving until I showed them that life can be fun.
Well, and I also heard you went on a fishing trip. Can you tell me about that?
Me and some of the guys rented a boat and spent the day on the water. We met up with my friend Candy and just enjoyed our first time of freedom. At first we were embarrassed of our uniforms and it being different, but then we learned to embrace it, haha. It was a good time. You and the doc caught a big fish. Okay.
Are you okay, Mr. McMurphy?
I am. I'm just reliving the old moments, you know?
Was there anyone at the asylum that you became close to? It's okay, take your time.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, all the guys are great. Harding and I became good friends.
Now that we've calmed ourselves down, was there anyone at the asylum that you became close to?
Yeah, all the guys were great. Harding and I became good friends because he was the first one to follow my lead and stand up against the big nurse. I think my closest friend was Chief Bromden, though. He was a good listener and ended up helping me when I needed it the most. Wonder how he's doing now.
Well, all right, that should do it for the day. I know you've had you had no mental illness coming into the psych ward, but it's still important to keep up with your medication.
Don't worry, I wouldn't dream about going against your rules. Have a good day. See you next week.
Bye.
Good morning, first hour. Today we have a very special guest for you. Some of you may know her from her novel Wuthering Heights, published in 1847. Please welcome Emily Bronte. Hello. Hi, everyone. My pen name was Alice Bell. So no one really knew that there was an Emily Bronte until later on. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. You're always welcome here.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you.
All right. So Emily, what was it like growing up in the Bronte household?
Well, my father, he was actually very strict with the kids. My mom, Maria, she died of cancer when I was very young, so I didn't necessarily know her. I had two older sisters. They were Maria and Elizabeth.
And your older sisters were also writers, correct?
Yes.
and Elizabeth. They went off to school when I was younger, and Maria, she caught tuberculosis and passed away, and Elizabeth,
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, thank you. She caught typhoid at school, and she died. So, and then I have my older sister Charlotte, who many know her for her novel Jane Eyre, and Anne is very well known for her novel.
She wrote The Tenant of Wildfield Hall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That one isn't as well known as Jane Eyre or Wuthering Heights,
Right.
but it was a very popular book.
Gotcha. Okay. So besides writing, what else did you do?
I was a teacher actually for a while. I started in September of 1838, but they had me working around 17 hours a day. So
Okay.
I went home around April 1839
All right.
to just continue working, and I helped out my dad around the house. So
Very nice of you.
thank you.
Very nice.
Mhm.
Okay. So, tell me about your book, Wuthering Heights.
Okay, so Wuthering Heights is actually a very detailed novel. It's extremely complicated, just like, you know.
Lay it on us.
Right, so the story is pretty much narrated by Lockwood, who rented a house called Thrush Cross Grange. His landlord is Heathcliff. He was the rude anti-hero of our story. He meets him at Wuthering Heights, where Heathcliff lives. Lockwood was curious as to why Heathcliff was so rude and mean to him, so he approaches his housekeeper, Nellie Dean, and she tells Lockwood her story, her childhood there, working at Wuthering Heights. There she was Mr. Earnshaw's servant.
Okay.
And so while she's telling Lockwood her story, he's writing all of this down in his journal diary.
Wow.
Right. So pretty much, she tells him all about the love that Heathcliff and Catherine share, and all just
Sorry, I just have some construction going on outside.
right.
But we don't want you to give the ending away, so,
Right.
you know.
Right. It's all about just love and revenge. That's what the whole story is
Gotcha.
about.
So, what were your influences for this novel?
Pretty much my childhood had a lot to do with it, losing my mom and my sisters, and just being isolated for a while. I was pretty isolated as a kid, didn't go out too much. I was homeschooled by my dad, so a lot of that is shown in my work.
Nice. So, for a Victorian era novel, this was kind of an edgier book.
Right.
Talk about that.
Well, the Victorian era, you know, they didn't write things that had anything to do with adultery. That was completely just not accepted during that time. Any of the sexuality in the book, that just wasn't at all talked about or any of that. You know, and just the family life, like, was supposed to be seen in a loving way and everything, and in my novel, it focuses on family life being just the power struggle and, you know, all about hatred and all of that. So it was very different from what the Victorian era was used to.
Right. Well, you know, we really appreciated. We really, really appreciated having you here. Am I right, audience? Am I right? Woo!
Thank you.
All right. Give it up for Emily. Woo!
character, Holden, wants to remain a child, but he's in a world where that's ultimately corrupt and adults are, there's no, people don't act like children. And the theme of the novel is an individual's inability to fit into society. And the author said, a quote from him is, quote, "An individual's alienation in a heartless world."
A common theme in Wuthering Heights is the destructiveness that a love that never changes. The destructiveness of a love that never changes, and revenge. There we go.
Okay. Hello. So, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is about people thinking they are less than they actually are. That is why the anti-hero McMurphy comes in and shows them that they don't have to put themselves down and that they can stand up to the big nurse. So, one of the symbols is the fog machine, and Bromden uses the fog to act like he's escaping from reality when really he is present, but he's just hiding his true feelings and isn't experiencing the world like he should be. And then another motif is real versus imagined sizes. Chief Bromden is 6'7", so naturally you would think that he would have self-confidence because he's so big and he is well-statured, but instead he acts like he's very small because he belittles himself.
Wow, tell me again!
Hi, I'm Sam, and I was the masked figure, and I was also McMurphy.
Hi, I'm Emily Millerick, and I played Emily Bronte.
Hi, I'm Natalie, and I played Holton from The Catcher in the Rye.
Hello, I'm Rachel, and I was Ellen DeGeneres and the prostitute from Catcher in the Rye. And everyone gets a free copy!
Oh my god,
Yeah! How do you feel about this?
Last, I can't, you know, it's really emotional for me. I don't even, I'm gonna be reading these all night. I just can't wait.